Charlie um, was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to Mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. He says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary. And typically, when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. Again, it is mystifying why, BB's out there doing the absolute most to make sure that Charlie was basically remembered as, I would argue, like a Jew.
He declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, re-education camp.
This came across my feed, this video by Candace, and I didn't watch a whole bunch of it, but I don't know, it's just very weird. Just from the clips that I had seen, she starts talking about Charlie Kirk and having like this spiritual switch maybe. And I don't know, when I first was listening to it, it almost seemed like it was leading me to believe that he was maybe changing his mind about evangelical Christianity and going more towards Catholicism. And then also changing his mind on Israel. So I want to just talk about that today a little bit. And this is just me, just some things that are going on that I just wanted true followers of Christ who, we put God first, right? We fear him and not man. And we're trying to live according to his word, like scripture is our final authority. That's who I want to talk to today. Christians may be like, they don't follow Democrats and instead go more the conservative Republican way. But, just because that person or people say they're on that side, and because that's the better choice in people's eyes that are Christian, you go that way. Don't let your guard down, because before you choose a political side, first and foremost, we're followers of Jesus Christ, and we serve him and obey him over any man or woman, right? So some of these people could be, intentionally or non-intentionally, we don't know, leading us in a way. They have some influence, they use their platform, and that's fine, they can. But we also have, I also have a platform here, and I want to use it today to just warn followers of Christ, true followers of Christ, that God is their final authority, the Bible is their final authority. To be careful what you're listening to, be careful of wolves in sheep's clothing, be careful of the deceivers out there, whether they're podcasters, authors, they're in pulpits, they're news media that say they're Christian. Be careful. So I just want to tie in Candace's video that I showed, that clip, and more of what she's saying. And it just, I don't know, just kind of disturbed me. Not only that she was saying, she's close to him and everything, and that he was having a spiritual shift toward Catholicism. And she is Catholic. Well, in this case, with what Candace Owens is saying, I know that she comes from a Catholic background, and I know their theology and all that kind of stuff. I do videos on it. So me personally, as far as spiritually, I know I don't align with her beliefs and everything. I'm not going to go with her spiritually. And I don't know, this was just really disturbing about her talking about Charlie and maybe going towards Catholicism, and praying the rosary, all this kind of stuff that I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't even know why she said that, actually, which is just kind of weird. And then her bringing up these things about him through Israel, I'm like, is this supposed to maybe help everybody instead of going to churches? Now we should go to Mass? I don't know. I just thought that was weird. And then like her bringing up like Israel, and I don't know, just from these little clips, like, is she trying to get out that like people in power are trying to get certain people to go with Israel, but all of us are being lied to and we shouldn't? Like, these are all just weird things. And I don't want to get involved with that kind of stuff. I want to stay back. I want to stay back. And I want to be like, you know what? I don't want to get sucked into that stuff. I have to remember there are going to be evil men and deceivers and imposters on the rise in these last days, because we're warned about it in Scripture. And if I start getting into all that kind of stuff, it's going to take me away from the Lord. This kind of stuff can be really, really dangerous, because I even just wonder, whatever voice is out there, I know that mankind, we fall short of God's glory. We think evil thoughts, and only God can really change a heart. And I also know, just by looking in Scripture, how people, whether in power or not, they use different tactics. Even like this morning, I was reading through Esther, the book of Esther, and there was a king, and underneath him, he appointed a guy named Haman. And one day, Haman didn't like that a guy named Mordecai, who happened to be Jewish, wasn't bowing to him. So wrath filled his heart, the Scripture says. It wasn't good enough for him to just do harm to Mordecai himself, but he wanted to get rid of all of his people. So he used his power and authority to, feed his wrath that was going on inside of his heart, to trick the king into making a law and giving him, Haman, the power and authority to go after these people and annihilate them. And that was just one person that we're told about in Scripture, that used money and power to harm a people. And in this case, it was the Jewish people. You can go read about it in the book of Esther in the Bible. But in the end, it didn't wind up good for him. But just to think, it all started with like, this man didn't bow down to me. And then wrath filled his heart, it says. And then out of that birthed evil. We want to be careful that we don't team up with or listen to or spend a lot of time filling our mind with maybe that's also what's happening in their heart. And instead of using your life for the Lord and for good, you grow bitter when these bad things happen. Maybe there could be some truth to some of these things, whether it's leaders for money and power, trying to sway people one way or another. We know. That's why we don't put our trust in princes or man, but in the Lord. And stand for righteousness, and we stand for righteousness, and we follow him, but fear him and obey him. Just be careful who you're listening to, and I pray that even though this horrible thing happened, that we draw closer to the Lord, stay in his word, and don't become bitter. And I want to read a scripture that's actually really hit me hard. And this scripture is in 1 Peter, and really you should go read the whole chapter. It's just, I think it's like such a perfect part of scripture for this time. And it says, therefore, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourself also with the same mind. For he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh for the lusts of men, but for the will of God. For we have spent enough of our past lifetime in doing the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lewdness, lust, drunkenness, revelries, drinking parties, and abominable idolatries. And I just want to stop there. That part about that we should no longer live the rest of our life in the flesh for the lusts of men, but for the will of God. That's what we should be doing. And I know like when we come to Christ, those are things that we need to throw off that he lists there. And there's other parts of scripture on things we need to throw off, but we throw off the old and we put on a newness of life. And as we walk with God, he will show us what is yucky in his sight and to throw off and what to put on. But not only that, just think of that. We spent so much time in our lives doing the things what our flesh desired. And like for me now, I even think, well, what else can I throw off, Lord? I have spent so much time doing what I wanted. What can I do to give my life away? I've had the kids, I've had, a wonderful husband and still have all these years and been blessed with stuff and even traveled the world and all this. What can I do to serve him? I've had the good, I've had the good life, the blessings. What can I now do to serve him? And even if it means making me a little uncomfortable, whether it's physically or I don't know, but that's just what I'm thinking. And really using my life truly to serve him and not following my flesh. Go read that chapter. Go read the whole book, really. Let God change your heart. Let God change your heart. Don't let the media and these podcasters change your heart. Let God do it. Run to him and his word during these times. And don't get deceived. Don't get bitter.